The manhwa begins with the main protagonist. He is carrying a capsule on his back. He takes the capsule to the 4th floor to show his best friend Hyung, hoping to sell it for some money. Hyung dismisses the capsule as trash, but Jin insists that he hasn't even looked at it properly. Jin is a 27-year-old, level F ranker, the weakest rank among the awakened beings. He was fired from his guild earlier that day, despite being a hunter like his late father. Jin lacked talent in this field but took pride in his hard work ethics, which allowed him to pay for his mother's medical bills and support his younger sister. While drinking with Hyung, Jin reflects on the history of the world they live in. On January 1, 2015, a portal known as the Gate appeared, connecting their world to another. Monsters that had never been seen before started to pour out from these gates, and a war between awakened beings and monsters began. After many battles, humanity defeated the Demon King Asmodeus on January 1, 2020, which was declared Victory Day. Hunters began entering the gates to kill monsters for their loot, and the awakened beings were ranked according to their power. Jin was the lowest ranked among them. As Jin sits alone in a corner, he considers throwing away the capsule but presses a button out of curiosity. The capsule opens to reveal a user manual, warning that the player will not be able to log out of the game and will die in real life if they die in the game. Jin thinks it's a printing mistake and tries to sleep on the floor. However, Hyung's snoring keeps him awake, so he gets inside the capsule, hoping it's soundproof. As he thinks about his family and his role as a rank F hunter, he falls asleep. The sound started to come out from the capsule, saying commencing player recognition and asking Jin to register as a player. However, Jin was in deep sleep, so after exceeding the time limit, the system automatically made Jin the player. The system asked Jin, "Would you like to enter the world of murim?" Again, due to exceeding the time limit, the request was automatically accepted, and the system prayed for Jin's success. When Jin woke up, he felt cold and thought that his friend Hyung had opened the window, but he saw a beautiful woman in his bed. Thinking he was at the bar, he asked the girl where he was, but he didn't understand her at all since she was speaking a foreign language. Suddenly, a message appeared, asking if he wanted to read the unread messages. Shocked, Jin punched the message with his fist, and by mistake, clicked yes. He saw all the messages that had appeared while he was asleep and was confused about the character, murim, and login. Jin got the translation package, but he wanted to stop it. However, suddenly, he understood what the girl was saying, and he was so shocked that he didn't say a word. After some time, Jin understood his situation and realized that he was inside a game and playing it right now. The woman's name was manhwa, and Jin was blushing because the graphics seemed too realistic. He couldn't stop looking at her, and she told him that he was acting strange today. Jin was happy inside his heart because she was calling him master. When they were chatting, a message appeared saying that the tutorial quest had begun, and Jin had to gather information about the world of murim and become familiarized with his surroundings. Jin decided to go along with the game and started to gather information from the woman. He asked her to give him information about himself, and after talking with her, he was able to gain a lot of information about his character and the murim world in the game. He was currently in the capital of the Shanxi province, which was known as Taiyuan, in a brothel called Crimson Flower. The woman was a high-ranking hostess working at this brothel, and Jin was Jin T. Kyung, 20 years old, and the youngest son of the Jin family residing in Taiyuan. The Jin family was a prestigious family that represented the Shanxi province, and they were known for fending off bandits and giving food and supplies to the people during famine or droughts. Due to these reasons, the Jin family was respected and liked by the people of the city. However, she told Jin that his family was facing some internal issues, and externally, the Mount Hang Sword sect was trying to find an opening to take over the leadership position in the Shanxi province. As for the internal issue, the third son of the Jin family was a troublemaker. Jin realized that there was someone always in this world, not knowing it was his character. When he asked how many sons the Jin family had, she replied, 3, and Jin knew that the troublemaker was none other than the character he was playing. After gathering the information, a message appeared saying that he had completed the objective and he had to become familiarized with his surroundings. While she told Jin that he was acting like an idiot, Jin remembered that he had to find a job in the real world, and he couldn't keep playing the game. He pointed his finger towards the sky and shouted, "Log out," but nothing happened. The woman was embarrassed by Jin's activity, but Jin was just trying to log out. For the past 3 days, Jin tried all sorts of stupid things to log out, but the end result was always the same. He couldn't get out of the game. Initially, he thought that someone from outside would help him, but no one did. However, when he reread the manual, it stated that the player will not be able to log out of their own volition, which meant that if certain conditions were fulfilled in the game, it might be possible for him to log out. So after mentally suffering for 3 days, he came up with a solution. He opened the quest and started the second one. In that quest, he had to distribute his status points in the character profile, distribute his ability points in the skills menu, and equip an item from his inventory. He opened his character profile, which had 100 points. He put 1 point into his Kai and 30 points each into strength, stamina, and agility. After putting all the points, his body suddenly began to glow, just like when he awakened 7 years ago. He had advanced from a third-rate warrior to a second-rate warrior. He then opened his skill window and put 60 points into the physical state and 40 points into the internal state. After accepting the change, his body started to change. His physique was totally different, and he had some abs and muscles. He could feel the flow of raw power moving through his body. He opened his inventory, and there was a traditional robe set. He wore it and stored his old clothes in the inventory. After completing the objective, he received a reward. Jin was happy to get the reward, but when he saw it was a keen spear, he was a little disappointed. He equipped the spear, but then a servant called him, saying that there was a problem outside the carriage. Some group of bandits had surrounded the carriage. A third quest appeared, in which he had to eliminate the bandits. Failure to complete the quest meant death. Jang Sam was a bandit who never left the vicinity of the 5 Great Mountains. At around the age of 20, he became the leader of a ragtag group of thugs and started to force travelers to pay passage tolls. He worked tirelessly through day and night and eventually became known as Jang Sam of 1,000 strength, striking fear into the hearts of many. One day, as he took his men out for patrol, he inexplicably walked out of the 5 mountains and stopped Jin's carriage. A servant of Jin assessed the situation and confidently told him that there were 6 bandits in total and no signs of an ambush. Despite Jin's fear, he felt reassured by the servant's martial power and thanked his benefactor, Walwa, for providing such a capable coachman. The servant marched towards the bandits, threatening to take out their eyes, shred their bodies to pieces, and kill all of their family for 9 generations. However, the bandit chief was unafraid and demanded to see the face of the noble in the carriage. The servant slapped him and warned him that none had survived after seeing his face. The bandit chief disregarded the noble in the carriage, and the servant grew enraged. Jin watched from the carriage, excited to witness the skill of a martial master. The servant then approached Jin and requested that he come out and meet the bandits. Jin was confused, but the servant explained that they wanted to witness the fearsome power of the heavenly Jin blade, a genius swordsman who had reached the peak of the murim world at the age of 20. After hearing the stories of the young master, the servant's heart felt nothing but fear and adoration for his accomplishments. Jin was still confused and told the servant that he had misunderstood something. The servant scolded the bandit, but Jin stopped him. The servant told the bandit that Jin was the heavenly Jin blade, Master Jin Mukai. Jin corrected him, saying that he was Ti Kaiong, the useless third son of the Jin family. The servant fainted upon hearing this. The bandit chief laughed and told Jin that he would let him leave if he obeyed them. However, if he failed the quest to kill the bandit, he would eventually die. One bandit threw his axe at Jin, but he closed his eyes in fear. To his surprise, the axe didn't even reach him. Jin assessed the situation and noticed that, apart from the bandit chief, the other bandits looked weaker than goblins. He felt confident because he had killed 6 goblins in the dungeon in the real world. The bandit chief taunted Jin, saying that he was a third-rate warrior who was only good at chasing after women. However, Jin was gathering Kai in his body and suddenly jumped, taking his spear from his inventory and throwing it towards the bandit chief. He killed him in one strike and leveled up, unlocking the Jin family cultivation technique. Everyone was shocked, and Jin asked who was next. The bandits begged for mercy, and due to the death of the bandit chief, the will to fight left them. Jin completed the quest and received his reward. Then servant woke up and saw that all the bandits were beaten up. He asked Jin if it was really him who did all this, to which Jin replied yes. Then servant asked Jin if he was sure he was not Master Jin Mu Kaiong, which made Jin angry. He shouted that he was Jin Ti Kaiong. In the game, time traveled slowly and Jin remembered thinking about what Jin Ho told him. Jin didn't know how many days he would be inside the game. He opened his skill menu and read the Jin family's spear technique. While Jin was reading the description of the skill, a new quest appeared. In this quest, he had to do Kai circulation control, and as a reward, he would get an item box and unlock Kai sense. However, the failure of the quest was Kai deviation or death. Jin thought that he would not accept the quest and that his friend Jin Ho would help him from the outside, so he declined the quest. But the system told him he could not decline a tutorial quest. Jin tried to decline again, but the system told him he had no choice but to accept it. The quest was automatically accepted due to timeout. The system told Jin to move to the quest helper location, but Jin declined. However, it was accepted automatically. Suddenly, a black hole appeared in front of Jin, and he was transported to an unknown place. An old man told Jin to come toward him, and Jin thought the old man was his helper. The old man told Jin to sit as comfortably as he could. Jin thought he had to sit in a lotus position in order to control the circulation of his Kai, but the old man told him that only weaklings were sticklers for details, not martial masters. Jin was surprised because he heard the Jin thought. The old man told Jin to follow the light within the meridians, and Jin completed his quest. He unlocked his Kai sense and his main quest. Jin felt like his whole body was fully rested, and inside his body he saw a big ball of fire. They finally arrived at the Jin family's estate in Taiyuan. Jin looked out the window and was amazed by the scenery outside. He told the servant to slow down the carriage so that he could test his Kai sense. Although he was excited to use his new skill, he was disappointed to discover that he could only scan a range of 10 jang and detect people below level 30. However, he was still happy to have this skill called Kai sense. Jin then opened the main quest and saw that he needed to become a first-rate warrior, achieve level 30, and gain 500 fame to log out of the game. He laughed to himself and reminded himself that this was just a game, and that he needed to utilize his combat experience and the game system properly in order to achieve his goals. He thought that he wouldn't need to rely on the help of anyone else. As the carriage continued on its journey, the gatekeepers stopped them and requested their identity and purpose for their destination. Jin coughed intentionally, hoping that the gatekeeper would recognize him, but he was scolded for erring inside the carriage. Jin was angry at the gatekeeper's attitude and told him that he lived at this place. The gatekeeper also lived there, but when he realized that Jin was the third young master of the Jin family, he asked him to step outside of the carriage. Despite the fact that no other guards paid any attention to Jin, the gatekeeper asked him his name and many other questions, including his stage of martial arts. Jin told him that he was a second-rate warrior, but the gatekeeper scolded him and told him to pocket his pride and answer honestly. Jin was annoyed, but he tried to control his temper. However, he eventually lost his temper and jumped to punch the gatekeeper. Later, a servant informed the head of the family about a fight between the gatekeeper and the third son of the Jin family. The head of the family was concerned about the youngest son and asked the servant about his condition. The servant told him that he had been moved to the infirmary and was currently unconscious and covered in bruises. The servant asked for forgiveness, but the head of the family asked to see the gatekeeper and was informed that the gatekeeper also required medical attention. The head of the Jin family decided to go outside and asked Wei Ping to come along with him. Jin remembered all the fights he had with the gatekeeper and how he lost that match. He thought that he was strong, but in the fight, Jin got bitten and was only able to land one hit on the gatekeeper, whose name was Hayek Mu Jin and was level 20. Jin finally woke up after an hour, and he was currently at the medical hall. The doctor told Jin to rest as much as he can to recover from his wounds. Jin opened his character profile and put all his 10 points into stamina. He thought that if he had distributed his points earlier, maybe he could have won. Suddenly, the head of the family appeared in Jin's room in the medical hall and asked the doctor about Jin's condition. Jin activated his Kai sense but could not get any information about him. The head of the Jin family was Jin's older brother, who loved him and told him to take care of himself more carefully as he was not trained in martial arts. But Jin did not know who he was, and his older brother called the doctor and told him that his brother had injured his head. The head of the Jin family asked Jin if he remembered anything, with tears in his eyes, but Jin pretended that he was suffering from amnesia, as that was the best choice for him now. Jin finally came out of the medical hall, and his brother sent someone to explain the place to him. The servant explained everything to Jin, showed him his room, and then took his leave. Jin went inside his room and looked for some martial arts books. He picked up one called 3-Foot Techniques of War. The system asked Jin if he would like to learn the selected martial arts, and he was happy to see that the system would help him learn martial arts. Jin was about to accept, but there was a limit on how much he could learn from the system, so he threw the book and searched for a better one. However, there were no useful books in his room, and Jin got disappointed to see that. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Lord was walking with Wei Ping when they saw light coming from the residence of the third young master. The Lord went to see his brother, and Wei Ping told the Lord that the third young master had brought some women to his room. Wei Ping bet his wage for this month and asked the Lord what the third young master was doing. The Lord told Wei Ping to shut his mouth and look for himself. Wei Ping looked from the window and saw Jin practicing martial arts. Seeing his brother doing great work, Lord was so happy and smiled at Wei Ping. On the other side, Jin successfully learned the Jin family's foot technique. Out of all the books in his room, there are only a few that were useful. He mastered the Jin family's foot technique and trained for the whole night. It was the 5th day in this game. Jin was training his cultivation technique in Kai circulation. He asked a servant to find a training room for him, which was reported to the Lord of the Jin family. The Lord was happy to hear that his younger brother was taking an interest in martial arts, and wanted to celebrate the occasion by giving Wei Ping a day off. However, Wei Ping stopped the Lord and asked him to address the current issues with the elders. Wei Ping was frustrated because the third young master was causing the Lord to lose his position to the elders. Although the Lord had protected his younger brother in the past when Jin had stole from the family treasury for gambling and brothels, he now had an idea to give Jin a proper training room. Following the Lord's plan, Wei Ping went to Jin's room and commanded the guards to capture and lock him in the cave of training for an indefinite period of time, while tying him up as a criminal. Jin resisted, behaving like a child until he saw Wei Ping's angry face, which scared him. Wei Ping then explained the plan to Jin through spiritual sense, telling him that he was under heavy scrutiny from the elders, and if he did not listen, he might receive a greater punishment. The lesser family head had decided to take matters into his own hands. Jin believed that his elder brother would not have put him in prison for an indefinite period of time, and tried to negotiate with Wei Ping, signaling that he would only stay for 3 days. Wei Ping was angry, but Jin agreed to his conditions. Jin secretly tried to see Wei Ping's level, but he could not, as Wei Ping was much more powerful than a level 30. Finally, the guards took Jin to the cave prison. At the gate of the cave, Jin greeted his brother. The Lord informed Jin that he would no longer overlook his actions and punished him by placing him in solitary confinement. Although Jin accepted his punishment, it was all just a ruse to divert the elders' attention from him. They placed Jin inside the cave and, through spiritual means, the Lord assured Jin that he had provided everything he might need and wished him good luck before closing the door. Some time passed, and Jin's older brother became worried about him. However, Wei Ping assured him that nothing would happen to Jin and that he would be fine. In the past, Jin had consumed many precious pills from the family treasure. In the cave, Jin began training with his spear and eventually mastered the Jin family's spear technique, which also increased his status. After tireless effort, Jin began to feel hungry and ate some grain pills from his inventory, but one smelled like goblin feces. After consuming it, he felt lighter and his fatigue disappeared. His stats increased by 2 for the next hour, and he was overjoyed. He brought a large pot filled with pills and ate many, but due to overeating, he was unable to move for the next hour. Jin continued to train in his spear technique, but his progress was slow. He realized that to reach 100% proficiency, he had to combine the Jin family's foot technique with their spear technique. While training, he accidentally made a big hole in the cave's wall and fainted from exhaustion. On the other side, Hyang woke up and searched for Jin. At first, he thought Jin went outside, but if he had, he would have woken him up. So he opened the capsule and saw Jin inside, removed his helmet, and woke him up, telling him to go eat some hangover soup to sober up. Jin asked if Hyang was going to buy it, but he was unconscious in the real world, but his mind and soul were in the game. Jin received a ring and distributed 10 points to stamina and strength each, wondering if he could defeat the gatekeeper, Hyuk guy. Suddenly a message appeared saying a new function training mode was available. There were 2 people, 1000 strengths, Bandit Chief, and the gatekeeper, Hyuk. Jin selected Hyuk for training and was amazed to see him identical to the real person. He could also alter the level of the summoned opponent. Jin decreased Hyuk's strength by half and fought him, easily defeating the Hyuk hologram. After that, Jin gave Hyuk his strength back and fought him again but was still able to defeat him. Jin increased the Hyuk level, but Jin was still able to defeat him. Jin gave Hyuk's hologram a spear and used Jin family's spear and foot technique. Jin somehow won against him and increased his level. Now he is level 14. After 5 days, Wei Ping came to take Jin out of the cave and told Jin to go straight to the Great Hall of Politics, where esteemed members of the main family and Mount Hang Sword Sect disciples were waiting. Jin had a bad feeling about the situation. Wei Ping was quite angry and asked Jin directly if he had attempted to rape the young miss of the Mount Hang Sword Sect. Jin denied doing anything and told Wei Ping to believe him. Jin asked Wei Ping if he looked like that type of person, and Wei Ping replied saying, "Yes, you are." They both entered the Great Hall of Politics, where the mood was quite intense. Jin stepped inside with fear. Li Xiao, who was level 30, asked Jin how dare he tried to rape his sister. Li Xiao showed written testimonies as evidence of what Jin did at the Radiant Moon, but Jin claimed there was no evidence which state that it was done by him. However, Li Xiao slapped Jin with the evidence paper. Li Xiao told Jin that he had to beat some sense into Jin. After that, a new quest appeared, where Jin had to win against Li Xiao, and if he got defeated, he would be titled as a sex maniac. Jin was scared because his level was 30, but he was only at level 14. If Jin declined this quest, there would be a declaration of war. Xiao Jun wanted to fight with the 3rd son of the Jin family, but the Jin family had asked him what his real purpose was. Xiao Jun replied that he wanted the Jin family to withdraw their control over Taiyue. He said that if they did that, he would overlook this incident as a mere accident. However, the Jin family lord declined the offer. Then, Xiao Jun asked the lord of the Jin family to have a fight with Jin, but the Jin family lord declined the offer again. After that, Xiao Jun told the Jin family lord that there was only one option left, and that was war. While the elders were discussing, Jin told Xiao Jun that he would fight with him, which shocked everyone. The lord tried to stop his brother, but Jin did not listen and told Xiao Jun to get ready to get beaten. Their match began, and Jin was scared of Xiao Jun because he was 16 levels higher than him. Jin's older brother told him through spiritual sense that he would step in if he was in any danger. By hearing that, Jin was a bit satisfied because he knew he would not die there. The fight between them started, and Xiao Jun charged with the sword, but Jin stopped it with his spear. Jin easily stopped the attack of Seo Jun and counterattacked in the face. Seo Jun got hit, and everyone was shocked because of it. Jin was happy because his attacks were going through Seo Jun. So, he smiled with a creepy face and told Seo Jun that he would beat the shit out of him. We see some background of Seo Jun. Since he was born as the first son of the Mount Hang sword sect, he had always learned how to wield a sword. He was not a prodigy, but due to his hard efforts and training, he was able to rise to the rank of first rate at a very young age. He thought that using Jin, he would gain power for the Mount Hang sword sect. But now, Jin was so powerful that Seo Jun could not defeat him. Jin bit Seo Jun so hard that he was not able to stand up. The guards of Seo Jun were watching, and they tried to stop the match.